Congrats, you've decided to leverage labor to free up your time. This is your first step towards your 4-hour work week, your perfect family life, or beach life. Or at least that's what the gurus tell you, right? What they forget to tell you is how to set it up. How are you supposed to share your passwords, your credit card details, or even your documents with a stranger on the internet? In this video, I'm showing you my exact setup in Google Drive and password managers. In this short series, I'm going to show you the behind the scenes of one of the e-com stores I manage. I was hired as an operations manager with 3 missions in mind: to double the revenue and profit, to liberate the founder, and to prepare the business for sale within the year. Watch over my shoulder as I reveal everything. In this SOP, I'm showing you the entire setup to hire a virtual assistant. Now, this might seem very easy at first, but it's actually not. It's not straightforward, but I've managed to simplify it and put it into one very, very simple setup that will allow you to save costs, make sure you never lose any information, and make sure you can onboard and offboard your VA in just a few clicks. So what are the challenges when you hire a virtual assistant, or in my case, an executive assistant? Well, is that you're going to have to share your passwords. You're going to want her to pay on your behalf. So you're going to have to share credit card details, and she's going to create documents for me. And I want to make sure that I own all the documents, because if she uploads something in her name on a Google Drive, I don't want the document to be linked to her drive, but I want it to be automatically added to mine. So several questions will rise when you start thinking about it, like, do I need to create that person a custom email? Do I need to create myself a company email, even though you might not really be doing it in a company setup? These are all questions that my setup will answer. So the setup is actually very easy. It's basically creating a G Suite account. I'll tell you exactly which plan to choose. That's very important. And then for that G Suite account, I created only one email address, which is for me, hello@mycompany.com or hello@myname.com or support@myname.com. This will be the email address that will be used to create all the accounts later on, like Canva account, ChatGPT accounts, etc. I won't have any of those in my own personal name anymore. I will put everything in this newly created email address. And then the second step is to create a Dashlane account. And this is awesome because it will allow us to share all the passwords that we've created with the hello@mycompany address. And we'll just be able to share that with every new virtual assistant we'll hire later on. And the amazing thing about that is that we only need to create one account for each software. So for example, for Canva, I can put all my VAs on the same Canva accounts with this. For Loom, exactly the same. For Descript, exactly the same. The list goes on. And then the third thing we'll have to do, of course, is to create a virtual card and set some spending limits. And I'll show you exactly which settings I chose in this case. So the benefits of my setup is that it will be very easy to onboard and offboard the VAs in just a few clicks. So that will be necessary if you didn't find your perfect match in the first time, which will definitely be the case. You'll never lose any data because everything will be owned on your own drives. It will limit your costs because we're only creating one Gmail address here. We're not creating one for every person we're going to onboard. It's going to limit the cost because all the VAs are going to use the same profile, like I mentioned earlier for Canva, for example. And you'll be able to trust your process to share data, payment info, etc., without being afraid of scam, fraud, you name it. So in this part, I'll show you all the technical details, the settings you have to choose, the reasons why we choose everything the way we do it. And I really highly recommend to follow this exact setup. You can think of the ways to do it differently, but trust me, in the end, this setup is going to be the easiest and the simplest you can follow. But you need to follow it from A to Z. So step 1, get G Suite. In G Suite, just create a hello@ email address, which I said it's like support@ hello@, basically your basic email address. And then you're going to choose a plan with a shared drive access. So this is very important. The basic plans are not going to have it. So you're going to have to go for a plan around like $15 to $19 per month. But it's super important because this will allow you to have a shared drive. And what that means is that if a freelancer or an assistant uploads anything onto the drive, the file is going to belong to you and not to that freelancer. To give you a very simple example, I once did a photo shoot with a freelance photographer. He owned all the files. After 2 weeks, he deleted everything from the entire photo shoot. We thought it was on our drive, but it wasn't because we had a cheaper plan of Google Drive and all the files were lost. So definitely choose a G Suite plan with a shared drive and make sure that everybody uploads things properly to the shared drive. in G Suite only create email addresses for people who will need to reach out to the outside world. With the hello at email address that you just created, you might want to give access to your first virtual assistant, as you might be doing your customer support, and you might want to use that email address for reaching out to services, customer supports, onboarding future people, etc. Now, what's very important here is that you can share the password to this Gmail account to that virtual assistant. But it's important to note that this password is not going to be the same as the passwords that you're going to create in Dashlane for this same email address. So that even though that person has access to the Gmail, she will not have access to all your passwords that are linked to this Gmail address. Okay, now that G Suite is installed and that you have your hello at email address, it's time to set up the Dashlane. So Dashlane will allow you to share your passwords to your entire team and to all your future virtual assistants, to onboard them and offboard them in one click. And it's important to use Dashlane and not Google Chrome, for example, because the password section of Google Chrome is the first place that hackers hack when they attack your Google Chrome browser. So to avoid leaking all your password, your credit card details, etc. on the web, I highly recommend using Dashlane. Now you can use any other password manager. It's just at the time of recording the video, Dashlane is one of the safest and is one of the cheapest. So go with the one you want. I highly recommend this one. Now the exact package I chose is the Family and Friends package, which allows me to have 10 profiles for just $4 per month. You want your assistant to join with her personal email address, right? Don't give her access to the Dashlane of hello at. And if she doesn't need to have contact with the outside world in your name or in her own name under your company's name, just ask her to join with her personal email address. As I said, never share access in the Dashlane of hello at Dashlane profile. And then you as the owner, and for them in the future, make sure that you create all the profiles under hello at email address, but also make sure that you never use Google authentication, because this will give away your Gmail password for hello at. So what you want to do is to always pick the sign up option, which is sign up with email. Never use Google Authenticate. Sign up with email, choose a random custom password. It can be as complex as you want because Dashlane is going to remember it. And that way your password is going to be safe and you're never giving away your Gmail password to your future assistants. That's very important. And for softwares that require two-factor authentication, I'll create another SOP on this. So there is a solution so that you don't have to do two-factor authentication on your phone every time your virtual assistant wants to make a payment on your behalf. Basically, at the moment that you set up the two-factor authentication, you'll have to copy the code that you receive and save it somewhere so that the assistant can save that code on her own phone. It's complex. We'll make another SOP about this coming soon. Keep an eye out for that. Now, how to create your virtual card? Well, for me, I set a spending limit of $250 because I want my assistant to be able to do actual payments on my behalf, not just peanuts here and there. I trust the person enough. In this case, I worked with her in the past on past projects in past companies. So I did put the budget on $250 per day. You might want to start with $99 or $100. That's all up to you and your risk-taking profile. Also, every time you get rid of an assistant, you want to change and to remove that card. It's very important. It might seem stupid. Trust me, we've seen bad things happen. Every time you offboard a virtual assistant, delete the card. It's that easy. And then this is a bonus. I haven't talked about it in the previous part of the setup, but I also want my assistants to join my ClickUp with their personal emails and my Slack with their personal email addresses. That's just to make it super easy so that if they're working on several companies at the same time, they have my personal ClickUp in the same place that they have their personal ClickUp or their other company's ClickUp so that they can easily navigate and that my project or my company doesn't get isolated from all their other ClickUp projects and from all their other Slack projects. And then staff offboarding. By following this setup, it should be super easy. The only thing you need to do is remove the Dashlane access from their personal emails. You need to remove their Slack access, their ClickUp access, their Drive access. Very important. Don't forget the Google Drive. And then you also need to delete the virtual cards that this assistant had access to. And that's it. By following this setup, we're able to onboard assistants very easily in the future for our company. And I hope that you can do the same. Now, this is the most important part of our onboarding procedure, and it needs to be very clear. So I'm making this current SOP for my current assistants so that you can hire freelancers and other assistants on my behalf. It's very important to get this correct because this will allow us to offboard people very easily if they were not a good match for our company. So we're managing the passwords through Dashlane. There's no bargaining about that. We want all the company's passwords to be shared through Dashlane. So if you already have, or if the new hire already has a password manager, they can choose to keep using it or to switch to Dashlane. This will all be explained in this document in details. Now, let's start by how to create a Dashlane account. So every new hire can just join using our invite link, which is hidden here under this black line. And this is a family and friends package, so it allows us to give free profiles to 10 people. We want everybody to join with their personal email address. That's super important. So we're not creating them a new Gmail address. We want them to join with their personal email address. Very important, so we can offboard them very easily in the future. Then we want them to choose a password really correctly. We're really picky. Cybersecurity is very important for me, so I want them to set up the password correctly. So first of all, this document will explain how to choose a very good and effective password, and then where to save a backup version or how to make sure that you never lose it. So the way to make sure that you never lose it is to save it in your phone as a contact. For example, you may save your password as a phone contact, for example, Mr. P or Mr. D or Mr. whatever. And then in company description, you can add your password. Make sure that you never mention Dashlane. Don't call the person Dashlane or don't set company Dashlane. That's a no-go. Now, how do you create a secure password? I'll let the new hire read this SOP, but basically it's by looking at things around you. You have to set it up only one time, right? So you can look at things around you. For example, you have a white cap, then remember your first zip code, for example, that will add some numbers in there. Then add some other things that you see around you. And this will create one long password that will be easy for you to remember. And to give you an idea, well, those numbers changed, of course, but like to guess a long password like that, which is very complex with symbols and numbers, takes years, whilst discovering just a basic password takes only a minute. So once you've created your Dashlane account for free, once you've created your password, you need to download the Dashlane browser extension. I always recommend using Google Chrome. If you use something else, double check that they have the Dashlane app. Then install the app, pin it to your browser, and of course, log in. And this way you'll be able to access all your passwords and it will autofill when you're browsing the web. Now for the account setup, this is not required yet. So for the new hires at the moment, don't do the two-factor authentication. Your manager or the person hiring you will tell you whether or not you have to do the two-factor authentication. And then here at the end, you see some options, how to keep your previous password manager, etc. So I'll let you read through it if you are concerned. And so our best practices to remember now that this is set up, it's stop using your Google Chrome password manager. Never use it for anything which is company related. It's the first thing that hackers will hack. And then second thing is never sign up for a new service in the name of our company with Google authentication. If you sign up to a new service, always do it using the email sign up method. Never Google authentication, but email sign up. Create a custom password. It will be saved in Dashlane, and then we can share that to the rest of the company.